Welcome to Yin Yoga Lifestyle. I am your host, Colette Darville. Cultivating our body's resilience and inner silence and its application to all aspects of your life. Let's become enlightened and enjoy the power of intuitiveness and creativity. You are listening to Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Colette Darville, and this is Yin Yoga Lifestyle. So now let us take a deep meditative breath. Inhale, so. Exhale, hum. Before owning a yoga studio, Claudia Baeza was a practicing attorney in the area of intellectual property law and interactive media design and adjunct professor of design at Boston University. She holds a doctorate in international business and intellectual property, an MFA in design, and a BA in art history. Today, Claudia is a Kripalu trained yoga instructor and the owner of Pineapple Yoga Studio in Sarasota, Florida, and executive director of the Dharma Footprint Project. She is a Yoga Alliance certified instructor as well as a certified personal trainer and paddleboard yoga instructor. She was nominated as a leader in women in business by SRQ magazine in 2017 and Localpreneur of the Year in 2018. And she is a recognized advocate and leader in her community. In 2018, Claudia trained in trauma-sensitive yoga, a program established at the Trauma Center at the Justice Resource Institute in 2003, which has helped thousands of people dealing with severe post-traumatic stress disorder and complex interrelational trauma. Claudia then created the Dharma Footprint Project, a Florida nonprofit dedicated to using yoga to serve at-risk or underserved communities in Sarasota, Florida, and beyond. Her vision for free community yoga program was realized when the studio opened in 2016 when she began offering free yoga to the community. Her passion for service is at the heart of her practice and studio's mission. It is a sense of responsibility to the community, which inspires her to offer a wide range of yoga classes, serving a diverse clientele from the power vinyasa to the most fragile and at risk in the community. Claudia's practice is dedicated to advanced practices in meditation, asana, pranayama, and the anatomy of the subtle body. Claudia is also a wife, mother, writer, photographer, and an artist. Welcome to Yin Yoga Lifestyle, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Colette. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Now, my big first question is, where did you grow up and how did you go from being a lawyer and a professor to owning a yoga studio in Sarasota, Florida?
Well, that's an interesting and great question. I was born in Santiago, Chile, and my first language was Spanish. So when I emigrated here with my family, I was like all other immigrants that come together for a beautiful life here in the United States, had to acclimatize and learn the language. I settled eventually in Boston, Massachusetts, where I lived for 30 years. And there I started my education. I settled down, had a family, and I journeyed into the legal profession. And I've always loved design and expression through the arts. So that was always part of my plan. However, my life was always influenced and heavied, if you will, by mental health challenges. I suffered from severe depression, and it became quite debilitating about 10 years ago, and that led me to a suicide attempt. And luckily, I survived that suicide attempt. I learned about yoga and about the healing practice of yoga and how that could change my life around. And my sense of responsibility to the community always spoke to me very highly, and that I had to share at some point what had saved my own life. So I journeyed. It was a long journey. I didn't arrive in yoga with having an easy time with life. I arrived in yoga really devastated and broken, and yoga helped me and enabled me to reach heights that I never imagined, and to really help people that I see as myself every single day when they walk into the studio.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Um, was there one experience or person who inspired your career change, so that change into, okay, I'm just going to go and I'm going to open a yoga studio and I'm going to create create this amazing Dharma footprint project. Was there, so who or what inspired you to make this career change?
That's another amazing question, because really it's this quiet inner voice, this voice of knowing that I have the tools that I was given at Kripalu, and I'm very grateful to that organization in the Northeast and the Berkshires for training me and giving me these deep practices. There's a deep sense of community that I was taught and that I feel internally and intuitively in my heart. And I just listen to my own truth and know that having the privilege to be the owner of a studio and an executive director of a program that dedicates the yoga practice to at-risk and underserved individuals is really something that I've always needed to do. I just didn't know it for a long, long, long time. And it's almost like I'm realizing that I was put on this earth for a purpose, if that sounds a little strange.
Not at all.
Realizing that that purpose, and it's great that I have, the legal background and the teaching background, and all of those gifts come into play with my daily functions at the studio and as a director with the nonprofit. But my personal experience with mental health and how that affected my family and how I saw the suffering that I caused really led me to take responsibility for my life. And thankfully, yoga gave me the tools to do that. And that's what I'm here to share, that no matter how desperate and how down you feel and how broken you are, that there is hope, and that I see myself and others that I know in our community see you, and that we can help.
Wonderful. Now you have used, and you've just said this too, you used your extensive education and inspiration to create this is called the Dharma Footprint Project. So can you explain its conception and purpose?
Yes. So the conception of it was to make the yoga tools broadly available in our community to those that could not or may not have the financial means to have the benefit of yoga by paying the fees. Yoga, as we all know, is a very expensive practice, and many are deprived of it because they cannot afford it. So the idea of forming this nonprofit was to democratize access and to make it available to all those who desired the tools of yoga in their lives. We specifically have identified certain populations that are really benefited from yoga, and our program specifically target those with tools that are designed to help with what they feel in their lives are challenging.
And it's interesting because, so many people don't take a yoga class because they look at the prices, they look at the fees, and they say, I can't do that. I have to put that money towards my rent, or I have to put that money towards groceries, or, and so they never get to experience somebody teaching them yoga. So,
Correct.
right? I wanted to ask you, how many, I mean, there must be epiphanies that happen when you teach people who've never taken yoga before, who are as you say, are coming out of maybe a dark place. Um,
Yeah.
and how, that epiphany, how does that, I mean, obviously it makes you feel wonderful to see the little spark go off and the success they have in their yoga. Um, but can you give me sort of a maybe a certain client who has come in and really blossomed, like an
Yes, I
experience?
can.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. So, one of the programs that we offer is recovery for addictions through the practice of yoga. It's based on the Y12SR program built by Nikki Myers, who's known globally for her program that helps people that are in the 12-step recovery program. Um, Addiction affects is a cross-generational problem. So if a child has addiction, it affects the family, the parents, it affects the siblings, it affects all the friends that are attached to that person. So we provided and created a class for a specific young man that had come to the studio with her mother, who trained in our yoga teacher training program, which specifically prepares teachers to serve in our programs.
Mhm.
She brought her son, who was a millennial, just in reaching adulthood, and he was in the throes of addiction and
Mm.
really abusing alcohol and blacking out, and it was just a mess. And they could not really help him. And we started having this program about 2.5 years ago, and she brought her son to the program, and her son has become a leader for other millennials in this community.
Wow.
He is now at the center of other millennials that didn't see a way out. So he is now being a program leader
Oh
based
my
on
God.
his own recovery, based on his own growth. And he sees himself as worthy and as a valuable human being. He doesn't see himself as a waste byproduct of alcohol anymore. And that
No.
affects him. He is now a firefighter. He got certified as a firefighter and has passed his exam. So now he is a licensed firefighter in our community. And he is a true leader for millennials. And I can't say enough about how the family has healed around this young man. The parents have healed. The sibling has healed. It has brought the family together, and it has saved this young man's life, because eventually he was going to die from his alcohol abuse.
Wow.
And
That's very
that's the truth.
yeah, that's inspirational, really, for a lot of people to
Yeah.
hear,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, can you talk about the variety of classes offered under the Dharma Footprint Project? Because it's not just one. There are quite a few, aren't there?
Yeah. There are. I would be happy to. So our biggest program currently is the Mindful Movement for Parkinson's disease. That specifically addresses the issues associated with the disease. So we work on balance, strength, and flexibility, but we also work on their mental health issues of depression and anxiety surrounding their disease. We use sound and coordination. We use counting and repeat and answer techniques. And we also offer chair yoga, which is an adaptive variation of yoga, so that no one is excluded. Even people in wheelchairs come to the class. The
Wow.
next class is called Trauma Sensitive Yoga for Anxiety and Depression. And this is a very specific class that dedicates its approach to those affected by post-traumatic stress disorder and how it manifests as anxiety and depression. And that we use specific tools that are taught under the program that I trained in.
Mm.
And we bring those tools to facilitate healing in the mental health arena. And then we have recovery from addictions, which I just explained a moment ago. And that is a program which is based on the Nikki Myers Y12SR for recovery from any addiction. And I want to emphasize addiction as being anything, including shopping,
Mm.
pornography,
Hmm.
addiction to certain patterns. So it's a very broad